What is up, everyone, and welcome to Drop In, where we have open, authentic conversations about all things mental health, including isolation and loneliness in the digital age. Dr. Jackie, what's happening?
Just living the dream.
In this economy, in this political climate, how dare you?
Rude, honestly.
I don't believe it. I truly actually don't believe it. I challenge that. Challenge flag has been thrown 2 seconds into this.
Flag on the play.
This topic I was reflecting on, and it relates to us going to see Offspring, Jimmy Eat World, Newfound Glory. If you kids don't know who they are, read a book. Open up your Spotify. Give Newfound Glory a spin.
Are you even an angsty teen if you don't listen?
Do you know who we're talking about? You have no idea. I'm so stoked to go to this concert. Let me let you into my psyche as I'm days out from seeing Offspring, Newfound Glory, Jimmy Eat World. My favorite part of going to punk rock concerts is moving my body. Going into the traditional song and dance, as it were, of the mosh pits. There is something freeing in my 90s kid, early 2000s punk rock scene of just running in a circle pit.
If you don't get punched in the face, did you even go?
Listen, I'm more of a bumper, and I'll pick up the fallen. I have never purposefully made contact with anyone's face, for the record. Don't come at me. But I'm like listening to these old playlists, and I'm like so stoked to just like let go. I'm 40 years old. How often do I get to let go in my life?
Accurate.
So I'm literally visualizing. I'm like, I'm going to run around, do the dance, as it were. Newfound Glory opens. High drum, high energy band. And I'm scanning, looking around for the mosh pit.
Okay, we need to like back up slightly and explain the venue because that is important for context.
We're on the lawn. I'm not paying for a seat at a punk rock concert. I don't care if you're offended by that.
Correct.
Be offended.
But for context, all of the seats and like the front, I guess, the pit area.
Referred to as the pit.
Correct. But that is all way in front of us. And then behind that is this open lawn area where everyone like puts their blankets and like sits down or like gets up and dances and like whatever.
It's the lawn. It's the lawn. That's the point of the lawn, is you do as you wish.
Exactly. However, my thought is always the pit is where the mosh is.
Who can afford that right now?
In this economy.
Who could afford those pit ticket prices? I remember when pit tickets were like $70 and you're like, wow, do you come from a rich family? Like, how did you get in the pit? Who helped you pay the $70? It's so wild to think how expensive concerts are now.
Yeah.
But yes, this is the classic amphitheater setup. I want the lawn. I want the space. I want the circle pit.
Totally.
I want to let it out. Newfound Glory starts off. I'm looking for the circle pit. What do I see? A bunch of people on their phones filming selfies on the phone. I feel like, again, back to get off my lawn. I'm 40 years old. Everyone's on their phone at a punk rock concert.
It's wild how we have become that because, again, most of the people that were at that concert were around our age, like 30s, 40s.
Yes. Yes.
So like we used to go and like do all the things, like run around, like mosh and all the stuff. But now we have also become the cell phone people.
The story goes on. Newfound Glory finishes the set. I feel like a pang in my chest. I bopped around. I screamed lyrics. Listen, the punkness didn't release. The F this government didn't release. The F everyone else didn't release, which I always say the difference between punk and emo. Punk is F you, emo is F me. And I'm I'm more in the punk era.
Yeah.
You're more
Oh,
emo era.
yeah.
And I enjoy both, for the record.
Yeah.
But that is the difference. I didn't get the F you out.
I wonder, it'll be interesting because we're going to another concert that is more my era emo.
A day to remember.
Yeah,
Hopefully
which
it
is
is
like
a day to remember.
probably going to be a little bit screamy for you, but like you'll adjust, you'll be okay. Um, but I wonder if it'll be different, honestly, because it's slightly younger than The
I
Offspring.
hope it is. I hope it is, because a day to remember is after my era. I don't like screaming. I want to hear lyrics. I'm not screamo. But
Get with
anyways,
the program, babe.
I'm gonna try. The Offspring come on, and as I look up to the top left corner of the lawn, and Offspring, I believe they're punk, but you can debate this. I see a circle pit of what appears to be young kids. I'm talking middle school, high school, all the way across the lawn. It revived something in me that gave me hope for the future generations. And in that moment, I'm stuck between, am I just old, surrounded by old people who
Hey,
the angst, it just isn't there anymore? Or has technology ruined how we thrive in the moment? And I'm not saying everyone has to mosh pit, but going to a punk concert and seeing a bunch of people on their phones created this pain inside me that until I saw those high schoolers moshing in the upper corner of the lawn, I just,
isn't that interesting that it was the younger ones that weren't on their phone?
they healed something inside of me. As an elder millennial, I like whispered across the lawn, thank you. And it echoed to those young souls as they jumped around in a circle. But this is the topic we're talking about. We're talking about isolation and loneliness in the digital age. And we got to make a distinction of what we're talking about. Isolation, social isolation, and loneliness, different concepts, different constructs. Isolation, objective reality is how we can think about it. Objectively, how many people are you around? People become isolated from work at home, pros and cons, of course,
Right.
but being able to order everything you need delivered to your door. You don't even have to go to the store anymore and pick up your pizza. The pizza come to you, of course. All these things.
So that's more of like the physical
Objective
separation.
reality, physical separation. Loneliness, subjective reality. You could be in a crowded mosh pit, as it were, and feel incredibly alone or lonely.
Right. So that's more of like the feeling of being alone.
So they're different, but they
Very much
correlate and they're often related. And they both produce a lot of impact on our mental health and physical health that are no bueno. What do you know? What have you noticed?
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because we almost had like both experiences, and this is me, like, I guess, showing our age and putting us on blast. But I remember when people first started getting like computers at home or cell phones came out, like the fact that cell phones didn't exist during part of our life. Like, remember, it was like beepers first. You had like a pager. I mean, I never did, but
I feel like it was only business people and people selling substance had the pager.
LOL. But then they came out with like the Nextel, like walkie-talkie type things, like you
Push to
could like,
talk.
yeah, you would like beep people. Like, I remember my dad had that for like his business or whatever, and he would like beep people on his Nextel. And then they had the Nokia brick, was like
Oh
the
yeah,
one that everybody
legendary.
had, and flip phones. And oh my God, what was the one that like flipped up to text?
There was one called the Envy, but that's not the one. And
Side
Sidekick,
Side-
yeah.
like Blackberries, all that. So like we very much were a part of the coming of the digital age, which is so weird to think about. So I feel like we had a little bit of like both experiences because I didn't grow up with an iPad. I didn't grow up with a cell phone. Like we didn't get cell phones until like high school. So maybe at the end of middle school. I don't know. But it was
College.
listen, you have a few years on me, okay?
I believe it's 7. Seven's more than a few, but you know what?
So yeah, when I was in middle school, you were in college.
Mhm. Yin Yang twins were playing at the house party.
Yeah. So I think it's interesting how we got both sides of that, but we very much adapted to the digital world, obviously.
Right. And that's the thing that, when I see all the posts of like, we had the best childhood and all this, I'm like, well, what are you doing now, Tammy? Because Tammy, all I see you doing
It's doom scrolling.
is doom scrolling while Jimmy Eat World is raging in the background.
Yeah. And it's so interesting. So, like, one of the stats that I read, and like, this is almost an obvious one, but the more hours a day that you spend on your phone or social media, just being on your phone in general, the higher rate you likely have of anxiety or depression.
Yes.
Not surprising.
No, not surprising. And there's even nuance behind that I was reading, that the difference between passive scrolling and sort of objective connection and communication.
Right.
Meaning, are you using your phone to snap back your friends versus are you just passively scrolling?
Right.
That differential has a big impact on how connected we feel.
Totally.
Not shocking, but 1 in 4 Gen Z or millennials report feeling lonely, and most 60% feel uncomfortable talking about it. Like even addressing that, hey, I feel pretty disconnected and lonely.
Mm-hmm. I'm not surprised by that. And the even younger generations, I was reading too, that they are even more susceptible to anxiety, depression, suicidality because of this disconnection and isolation.
Yeah, all-cause mortality increases by 25% for social isolation, and for those who feel loneliness, more than 20%. And
that was one of the really interesting studies. Like I remember when that study came out that really addressed and said that as we age, people live longer when they are part of a community, whether you are married or you feel connected socially or you're part of a group or a community, you live longer. And I remember that coming out and being like, I think I was single at the time and I was like, well, shit. Here I am, and I'm going to be dying earlier just because I am single and probably will be forever. But then it made me think about the people in my life that I know, even in my family, that are like older. And I'm like, even thinking about my aunt who lives by herself and like never been married. She's such a boss. I'm like obsessed with her. But she is so heavily involved socially. Like homegirl has way more appointments than I do and like has dates with her BFFs and like travels to like all these different countries and just like lives her best life. And I'll like hit her up and she'll be like, oh, sorry. She'll like, text me 3 days later and be like, sorry, I was, traveling with Diane in Italy. And I'm like, okay. Like she just like is so connected that way. So it's not necessarily like being in a relationship necessarily. It's more of like, are you connected? Do you have human connections? And are you really capitalizing on that?
absolutely. And to drive home why that's so important, we know the more isolated you are, the lower the impact of your immune system. And we know being isolated is equivalent or more damaging than smoking, obesity, or inactivity.
It's wild.
It's wild because it highlights this thing that we know that you're naming is like we are a social species, period. The hard thing is we are adapting on the fly to all this new technology that makes it far less needed to interface or interact with another human. And we have not evolved for that to be the case where we are okay with that.
Well, it makes me think a lot about, remember we watched that Blue Zone
Yes.
documentary?
Yeah.
And for those who haven't seen it, the Blue Zones were referring to these places where people were living the longest lifespan. So, like, many people living past 100 years old. And they were trying to find the commonalities between either the cultures or the lifestyles or the factors that might be leading to these people living longer lives. And one of the things that really stood out to me was all of the places that they were talking about and they were exploring. The cultures were very collectivistic. There was a lot of interaction and a lot of, familial connections and generational connections within families or community that they were constantly in connection with other people, having conversations, just spending intentional time together. Not, I'm working all day and I'll see you if I have some time. It was their days revolved around either meal times together or times that they would, take a little siesta together, or they would spend time out in the community or working collectively together on a common goal or whatever it is that they were doing for work, but they were working together and spending intentional time. And that to me seemed like one of the bigger differences.
Absolutely. Because, like you said, it's the amount of times daily you're interacting with another human, which I know for a lot of people out there, especially if you're coming from a more Western environment, maybe the United States or something like that, where it can feel anxiety provoking because you never do it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, again, your food's getting dropped off and you do what we all do. You either check your door cam and make sure they're gone, or you do the peek through the window, make sure the lights are out of the driveway. But it's laughable, and that's an experience so many of us have of like, God forbid I interface or interact with a person in this moment.
Right.
But this has just happened. This is like not something, again, of course, like aging ourselves. This wasn't around 20 years ago.
No, it's like even if you got food delivered, it was like you got a pizza delivered and like,
here you go.
Here's your money. Here's your tip. Like, have a great night. Hope the rest of your shift is great. Like, see you later. Thanks for the yummy goodness that you just delivered.
We got, Jimmy's here again. Oh, good to see you, Jimmy.
Yeah.
Jimmy's dropping some judgmental things of like, oh, another pizza. And you're like, hey, cram it, buddy. Now you're only getting $1. And he's like, oh, great, $1. I can get I can get a gallon of gas with that $1. Joke's on you. Things have changed.
Real.
But I think that's it's happened so fast. And again, these younger generations, Gen Z, Gen Alpha, like they're not ever going to have the experience that we had.
Right.
But in pausing and asking ourselves this question of, does this matter to our well-being, interacting with other humans and becoming known to the people in your community, neighbors or others? The answer seems to be yes.
Yeah.
Especially, again, based off of the documentary, what do we know about these, environments where people live past 100 regularly? It's the movement, lots of walking, lots of outdoors, lots of nature, lots of interaction. Mm-hmm. Not online interaction.
No. And it's so interesting to me because we have very much adapted with the technology without even knowing it necessarily or without even realizing it. Like, we engage in all of these same things, and that wasn't our upbringing. That wasn't, what we knew. That wasn't secondhand to us the way that like kids now know how to work their iPads better than we do. It's wild. Like 4 years old and they know how to like scan this barcode and
the scanning of the QR code phase for my son is just he just got, if he sees a QR code, he must scan. He thinks he's collecting Pokemon. It's hard to stop him.
It's so funny, but like even thinking back to when we first like had a computer and you had like AIM, which the kids today will not know what that is, but like you had an embarrassing ass screen name that like you put your away message on and like only one person could use either the computer or the phone. And like some of you have not ripped each other's hair out over this and it shows, right? Like the amount of physical altercations that my sister and I had gotten in over who got to use the computer and like chat with their friends, or like who was on the phone with someone so you couldn't use the internet at the same time. Like things have changed.
You're trying to chat with your boyfriend and your sister's got a call with her girlfriend. She picks up the phone. You're kicked out mid-chat. And now you and your
World War III has just erupted.
Just like that. But it's wild how technology just sort of slips into your life.
Right.
And you start to adapt around it. And businesses and money earning corporations don't ask the question, is this good for us? They don't care.
Right, because it's making them money.
Y'all know I can be so cynical about capitalism. But it's something when we reflect and look at the data and the research and wonder why we're so isolated. And again, there's all the debates of like, are we more depressed than before? Have we just gotten better with assessment? I'm not claiming to have the answers, but in observing the things we observe as therapists, to me, it's like, again, that's where it's like you're living this reality daily. One of the biggest protective factors that I see is someone who is socially connected frequently. And the opposite is true.
Yes.
When somebody is very disconnected, it will almost always or seemingly correlate with severity.
Yes. Agreed. And I realized this even more after COVID. So this has always been true, right? The degree of separation that we have or disconnection very much related to the severity of mental health symptoms. After COVID, we were not only disconnected, but we were also like isolated and lonely. And all of these things were just leading to even more separation, less activity together, not even being able to like hug your friends or hug people that you were seeing. And I've had a lot of clients who have said, I feel like I have no social connections because of COVID, or after COVID, I feel even more anxious in social situations because I got so used to working from home or staying home and not doing activities or not going places. And it's something that as a therapist, I very much noticed that trend after COVID, significantly more isolation.
And you see across hundreds and then into thousands of people when you've been a therapist long enough, you see the sort of ABA design, to go into research methods a little bit, of like seeing them with their symptom severity, seeing the intervention point of intentional, more contact, more interaction, more community, hit up your old friends, join the kickball league, etc. Go to the Love Island watch party, whatever you're into, and then the after again. And it is one of the most powerful interventions. And yes, there's lots of confounding variables. Like I think the argument that gets made a lot is, well, you know, is it just the depression making people more isolated? Like, shouldn't you try to alleviate the depression symptoms? And it's not to say that there's one way for any of this. Everything is all interrelated. But I think the amount of times I've seen someone be, again, depressed or really anxious or having panic attacks, and one of the main sources of change is getting them more socially connected. their symptoms improve.
Yes.
And I don't think there's many therapists who have witnessed that change who would say otherwise. And it's not saying for everything, and people can get like, oh, whatever. But when you're talking about some of the strongest interventions you can think of, that if you could snap your fingers and change for your clients, that has to be towards the top of the list.
Yeah.
Increasing social connection.
And I know both of us tend to work from a pretty like interpersonal lens. And one of the biggest pieces of that is getting connected with people that you feel connected to and getting involved in more groups and communities. And that's not necessarily to say that, everybody's community needs to look the same, or that, you need to do X, Y, and Z types of activities or hang out in this type of setting or environment, because that looks different for every person. But there is this huge difference between our society and our culture being very individualistic versus other cultures that are more collective. And I think, again, in general, us being social creatures, that is something that is just so primal and inherent within us as human beings, that we need this social connection. And that's the thing that we see so often, and why, again, we encourage connection in any way that we possibly can, especially working through that lens.
Because then you think about the things that take our time that seem like they would be connecting, but often aren't. And yes, you think of social media. And of course, again, and that's why when people just blanket statement social media, we know the research says it depends how you use it to an extent.
Right.
For sure. And time as an overall variable certainly stands of like if you spend more time. But again, are you messaging your friends on Snapchat, connecting with them, laughing over a meme, or are you just mindlessly scrolling?
Right. And I think about even the difference between how accessible that is now, right? Like when we grew up, there wasn't like, it was, you went to school, you had your social connections at school, you went to activities, whether that was like sports or clubs or whatever, external to school, you had your connections there. And then you went home, you didn't have social media. So you were either spending time with like family or playing with siblings or playing with people in the community, like in your neighborhood and stuff. And now it's interesting how you have access to people all the time. So it may seem more connected because you have access at all hours of the day, but what is the quality of that connection? And is it actually you connecting, like you said, and being intentional about having interactions with your friends and with these people? Or is it more of, I'm on a social platform that isn't actually making me feel connected, or I'm not necessarily having connections, I'm just interacting with this interface?
That's why I love walking through the mall. Have you walked through a mall lately?
Okay, that's really showing your age.
Have you walked through a mall lately? Yes or no? Just yell it out wherever you are.
Program the golden shoes or something.
Are you talking about mall walkers? Listen, I'm gonna be a mall walker. This is my goal. I'm gonna get some fresh New Balances. I'm gonna be no one.
New Balances are cool now. You can't even like use that.
They've always been cool. Don't hate on New Balances. Sponsor this podcast. I'll wear it every episode. Tee hat, the full socks. Give me that. But if you walk through a mall lately, just like those kids I saw up in that corner in the mosh pit, the kids are out.
Yeah.
I love seeing it. And I think the thing that gets really critical is, I'm walking by these group of kids who are all hanging out at the mall and they're on their phones. I'm like, I'm glad y'all are here.
Right.
I'm glad you're not at home.
Right.
I'm glad you're sitting around the fountain, Auntie Anne's in hand. And yeah, maybe you're comparing snap scores. I don't know what the kids are doing, but you're here.
Yeah.
Like that again, there's something about that. I'm like, I'm glad your shoulder to shoulder. Because when I came home from school, it was just to drop my crap off and get to my friend's house to play Mario Kart.
Did you guys go to the mall and
Yeah,
like walk around?
yeah, of course.
Okay, I don't know.
This was a mall. We brought our skateboards.
Yeah.
You know, we were skateboarding outside. We carried them around inside for all the reasons you think. Because they look cool. Like, oh, you skate? Absolutely.
Hit me up
What can you do?
on my Nextel.
But again, there's something about that just when my teenage clients are like, oh, tell me a story, and they're interacting with someone at the mall or they're doing this or that. I don't know. Maybe again, there's always that chance you self-reflect and you're like, you're just stuck in the old times, Grandpa. But there's another part of me that based on the research and the data, I'm like, I would rather see you side by side sitting around the mall fountain than everybody alone in their own houses screaming at each other in a Fortnite lobby.
Totally.
And hey, I love those games. I'm terrible at them. It's fun. It's not the same.
Right.
It's not the same. And I think even in video gaming, another episode we should probably do, but there's a difference. Like I've evolved in my video gaming, playing with my friends online, but I grew up shoulder to shoulder. It's different.
Yeah.
It's different when you're in the same room and you can high five, tackle each other, you know, steal each other's snacks versus being online. And again, you can meet some cool people online. It's not all bad.
For sure.
But it doesn't feel the same.
No, I agree. It's interesting how being online very much grants you access to communities that you want to be involved in, and you can be very specific about the communities that you're choosing for yourself versus being in, you know, in person and being around the people that are in your neighborhood potentially who might not be super similar to you in certain characteristics or certain ways. But there is like this big difference in spending time physically together versus online. Like there is this degree of separation and disconnection. It was interesting how there was actually a study done where people that live in more like urban areas, highly populated, are actually less connected than people in rural areas. And I was like, that's so fascinating. But part of me thinks that it's when you're in rural areas, you're kind of forced to make more connections within your community because you are more like physically isolated or like further apart from neighbors and things like that. Versus if you're in a city type area, you might not necessarily feel the same pressure to like talk to your neighbors or meet people.
I definitely want to read that study but it makes sense.
I was so shocked by that. I'm going to pull it up.
There's a layer that makes sense because I warned you before I took you to Ohio. I warned you. I was like, the New York in you, you're a bubbly person. And I think that's the thing. But the New York in you is going to be a little caught off guard when you're at the grocery store and the person's commenting on, why did you pick, you know, that pop? Have you tried that pop before? I didn't even know that existed. What aisle is that in? People talk to each other.
Yes.
Out and about. And again, I've been in Florida now, I think 14 years, lived in Alabama, lived in California, and grew up the first 24 years in Ohio.
Yeah.
And it's just different.
Yeah. Very culturally different.
But I think to your point,
socially,
yeah, I think because there is less people, there's sort of a novelty of chatting it up and a culture around that where if you're constantly surrounded by people all the time, this isn't a novelty. I don't really need to talk to you.
Right. Yeah. So I pulled it up. Okay. So I was slightly off. They reported higher rates of loneliness than in rural areas, but like similar. It's not necessarily like the conversations, I guess, but it's more of like you're feeling more isolated even when you're amongst more people.
Yeah, which is going back to the start of this podcast, is the essence of loneliness. It's not necessarily related to the amount of contacts you have. It's about the quality. And, I've complained about that at length to you of living down here in Palm Beach County, South Florida. And I differentiate because we love Miami. Miami's our favorite city. It's so fun. Miami's completely different than where we live.
Totally.
People,
like night and day.
Where we live is mini New York.
Mhm.
Everyone's from New York and New Jersey. We're lucky to have a few good Cuban restaurants by us, thank God. But everybody is from the Northeast, and again, a Midwesterner, it's a different vibe and interaction when you're out and about. And it's not about people being good or bad. It's not about that.
No, it's just there's a very different like cultural atmosphere, I think. And yeah, people aren't necessarily going out of their way to like check in on you. And it's funny because even where my parents live, which is further up north, and where like your mom lives, people are nicer there because it is just a different culture. Like people will come up to you in the grocery store and be like, "Hey, how's your day? Oh, like I see that in your cart. Have you ever tried that before?" Or like just making conversation to have a conversation, as opposed to here, if somebody comes up to you, it's because they're either making an obnoxious comment to you or they're just not saying anything. Or if they say something, you look at them like they have 12 heads because why are you looking at me or talking to me?
It's different. And these are all the cultural variables that get mixed in of like where you live, the quality of the connection, and what you do about it. Because if you're in the middle of New York City, yeah, maybe while you're out and about, again, the quality of connection, everybody's busy, everyone's weaving through streets trying to get to where they're going. I don't know what that's like. I truly don't. I'm not from that culture to know what it's like to have to weave in and out of humans in my way all day.
Yeah.
And the question becomes of where is the quality of my connection? Am I joining that D&D group? Am I doing the improv shows, or am I going to this, local pottery studio? The examples are unlimited.
Sure.
But it's like, where are you slowing down to connect where you become familiar to anybody?
Right. And I think the challenge, especially now post-COVID, is a lot of people are, again, even more separated and isolated because there are so many more people that are working from home or that are, again, like most of our interactions and our interfaces are online. And that's something that I've noticed, again, like in my work has been a really big difference. But even for like my own personal life, right? Like we used to go into an office and like see people in person. And that was the primary method of doing therapy. And after COVID, it's interesting because there are so many advantages to working from home and being virtual, right? Like we get to see people in like 40 plus states and we get to make connections with people of various cultures and different places. And it's really incredible that we get to connect with all different people rather than just right here in our backyard, essentially. But there's also this huge disconnect, right? Like, and I know we talk about this all the time of like, we're not great work from home people. Like, I think both of us are very extroverted. Like, Justin's just like a freak on the extroverted scale. Like, he is off the chart. You cannot like measure his level of extroversion.
I need to be the spokesperson of an account that I just found on social media. I think it's POV and extrovert, something like that. Does the name well. It's just them with a camera attached to their hat, interfacing with the world. Oh my God. It'll make introverted people throw up. But for everyone who's an extrovert, you'd be like, yeah, way to represent. Bring a little sunshine out there, some connection.
But like, there are so many moments that we talk about this where like, I just miss like in between sessions getting to like go and hang out with my coworkers and like talk to them and just hang out during lunch and do the things that we even have meetings together, right? Like I miss having that and I miss having those connections as opposed to just like being at home and staring at the same like four walls and feeling like the walls are closing in and like love working with you. However,
I was like, where's the but? Okay, hit me with the however.
I just miss being able to like roam through the halls of the office and like cause a ruckus as I do and be connected to like all different people and just have the energy of people around. And these are things that like again I talk to my clients about too because working from home like you don't have those same connections that we once did.
Absolutely. And to argue the other side, it's about accessibility. It's about saving money on resources.
For sure.
Why is my company charging me to park here?
Mm-hmm.
Why did I have to come all the way in here to be in person for this meeting where I said nothing?
Mm-hmm.
It's all those things. And I think most people would do well with hybrid. And most people are happy with hybrid.
Agreed.
Meaning like I go in 2 days or I go in 3 days and the other 2 are in person, the other 3, whatever, but some sort of combination that gives you flexibility. None of us like to be told you're just here because we need to build this corporate family back. Shut up.
Right.
Like even as an extrovert, get the pizza party out of my face. Send me a personal pan pizza to my house. I'll eat it.
Drop it at the door and then leave.
And then scat. Don't you dare show your face, and I'm not opening the door until you're gone. But we don't like to be told what to do. So I do get that. But as a psychologist, yeah, I worry about a lot of people who you work from home. And again, the questions I'm asking people on the daily is, when did you leave your apartment?
Right.
And I get it. I'm not asking you to be me. I don't care.
Totally.
But when you tell me for 5 days straight, you did not leave your apartment, there's no psychologist who's going to say that's good for your well-being.
Right.
I don't care how much you love your apartment. It's just not going to be.
No.
And again, individual difference. How's it working for you? All the things, fine.
Right.
But
in general.
Right.
No, and I agree. And those are like the things that I think about even for us. Like, can I get outside today? When can I go and take a walk? When can I go to the gym or be around people, even if you're not necessarily having tons of conversations per se? But I have clients who tell me, I haven't spoken out loud for 2 days.
Wild.
Right?
Yeah. I'm just letting that marinate over me and thinking about that.
Right.
I don't think I've ever gone.
I think about the energy in our house and the amount of like chaos and screaming, mostly from children, but like, but like the amount of energy and talking that happens in our home is on a different level than most people. But like for people who live alone or work from home and live alone, they might not be having a physical conversation or even a phone call for a day, 2 days.
Yeah, and it's not to say there's not ways to supplement that, you know what I mean, to get your connection online, support groups, things of that nature. And yet there is something about that that would concern me.
Yeah.
Like I would worry about how you're feeling and want to assess that. Because again, we're not that species.
Right.
It may be in 400 years we will be. There will be that evolution of, we just don't have to, speak or interface, or we don't feel as lonely. But right now we do.
Yeah.
And the data is pretty clear on that.
Well, and I think that's the challenge is, again, we are social creatures. We need that connection. That is part of our DNA. And yes, as the world and technology are evolving, there's increased access. There is increased accessibility to all of the different things. There's so much faster access to things, and with the improvements in technology, we're able to do things so much quicker and absorb information quicker and get information quicker, which is incredible. And at what cost? And that's always my concern, is like, are we evolving in a way that is almost too quick for us as humans to keep up with?
I think that feels clear. Of like, the answer is yes. The answer is yes for sure. Which, this is a topic that I didn't know it had a name until last night, but
Yeah.
it's something that I hear people fight about, couples, individuals, all the time. Fubbing.
Yeah.
Fubbing is phone snubbing, aka you're with your friend, you're trying to talk with them, they're on their phone.
Mm-hmm.
If you're watching on YouTube or Spotify where you saw the video, I mimicked being on my phone. Who do you think fubs more in this relationship?
You.
100%. No,
hands down.
No debate, no denial.
The amount of times that I have a conversation with you and you just don't answer because you're on your phone doing something, and I'm like, hello. And then you eventually will look up and you'll see my face and you'll be like, ruh-roh.
The hello is like, it permeates whatever cat video I was watching at that time. It was usually like a fourth take of me watching this cat battle another cat, and I'm like, oh my god,
fully in it.
What did I miss here? It's bad. It's bad in that this is a common thing.
Mm-hmm.
Of there is nothing that grabs our attention quite like our phones. Mm-hmm. And again, social media, but also anything.
Yeah.
Candy Crush. You love moving little tiles in your little sleepy time game, which I think is complete BS. But
don't judge my tile game.
But what do you think about this? Like, what's the solution? Because we hear about it all the time as therapists, of like, they were on their phone. I can't connect with them. You're trying to create quality connection with anybody.
Right.
And the phone's getting in the way.
Well, I think it's a good conversation to have, honestly, because part of that, and I know from my perspective anyway, and you probably feel the same when I do this, but like, if you're on your phone and I'm having a conversation with you and you're half listening or you're not fully there and I ask you a question and you don't answer me, I feel like, okay, I'm not important enough, or I'm not as important as whatever it is that's on your phone. And it might be some like dumb cat video. And I'm like, how am I not as important as a dumb cat video, right? So I think especially within partnerships or friendships or any social dynamic, if someone is on their phone, it feels like you're not as important as whatever it is that they're looking at a lot of times. So having the conversation of like, hey, we're at dinner, let's like make this a phoneless dinner, or we're setting intentional time during the day to spend meaningful, intentional time together, where either we're not on our phones or we're, again, engaging in an activity or doing something intentionally together. Because it's so easy to fall into that habit of just checking your phone or scrolling at the same time or multitasking while you're having a conversation. And I don't think we realize a lot of the time how disconnecting that can actually be. God, I just got so distracted. I saw
the cat walk by in the mirror, and I'm like, Jackie's gone.
Full ADHD moment.
Jackie's gone by the literal cat.
And this trying is probably to hunt. Where you feel disconnected when I literally go off into Never Land.
That was justifiable. That cat has been disturbing the birds at the bird feeder for weeks.
We are mad at him.
He's got to keep it moving. Stay away from our bird feeder.
You've been warned. So, yes, going back to having those conversations and being intentional with your time together, I think is so important because that is where the meaningful connection is built. And maybe that's having like 10 minutes together at night before you go to bed and just having a conversation about your day or catching up or checking in with each other, or having a 10-minute phone call with a friend that you wanted to check in on. Something that feels intentional in terms of having that connection with other people is so important.
Intentional screenless time.
Yes.
Bake it into your routine. Is it dinner? Is it, some time on the couch when, again, we're both recapping our days? Are we putting in the, again, dinner date, the coffee meetup midday where it's just no fun? It happens so quickly.
Right.
That's why I feel like without the intentionality, and again, I've seen this work. We've tried to be intentional at times with it, maybe not as much as we should be in our day-to-day routine, but it feels different when you're like setting that instead of the judgment of it of, oh God, you're on your phone now. It's like,
Right.
let's rewind and start from the beginning and say, hey, we're going to the coffee shop right now. What if we just leave our phones in the car?
Yeah.
And I know a lot of people, which is always a little bit funny to me, they're like, what if something happens? I'm like, what do you mean, what if something happens? What did we do all in the 90s and the 80s and before cell phones?
Yeah.
If something happens, you'll address it 30 minutes from now. But it's weird how anxiety and having to be connected, having to be, has just like big tech and big phone loves that. Of like, yes, what if something happens?
Right.
Never leave me.
Which I think is honestly where so much of the anxiety and burnout and all of that comes from, or is exacerbated by, because we feel this pressure to always be at everyone's beck and call. Like if you miss an email or you don't respond within 5 minutes, it's like, feels like the world is going to end and I'm going to get fired and, everything is going to fall to shit. And it's like, no, like, have you ever seen the memes that are like, people in Europe, I'm taking like a month off, like see you in, the next year or whatever. And here it's like, I'm taking 3 hours off to have this surgery. If it's an emergency, please contact me at this number and I'll make sure that I respond to it. It's like, where is the recovery? We feel this need to constantly like be on and at everyone's beck and call. Like we are not able to take even 5 minutes of a break, even if it's like our life is in jeopardy in that moment and we're under anesthesia. It's like, I'll make sure I wake up just for this and then they'll put me right back under and I'll make sure that I get to you. It's like,
they're like, you're on morphine now, right? So
like, you're fine.
You're okay. You're not actually feeling that pain anymore, Susan. What's the big deal? It's just a quad bypass. It's not that big of a deal. I've never heard that or seen that meme, and I'm like laughing and crying because it's so depressing. It's so dystopian.
I know.
And it's so true. But to your point, the intentional time of being screenless, I think is going to be pivotal going forward. Screens aren't going anywhere. Technology is just going to get more and more, synced up to our day-to-day life. And again, to benefits, there will be plenty access resources, especially in the health realm. I think we'll know more about our individual health on the daily, which again can be helpful to lifestyle changes and all those types of things. But it's going to be more important of we need this time to connect.
Right.
And I'm setting that precedent on the front end instead of just expecting you in a moment to be able to override it when we haven't had this discussion. And now we're having a nice pasta bowl at Louis Bossy, if you know, you know. And I'm mad you're on your phone. Something I don't have to worry about with you. You would never have phone in hand when there's a nice rigatoni in front of you.
When there is pasta involved, I am fully present. I am savoring every moment.
Gosh, even in that is some wisdom though of like do the things that bring you connection and
Mhm.
reflect on that. I know I mentioned like D&D and people playing Magic and board games and things like that, but there are, they may sound archaic, but there are so many other ways to be entertained, connected, and create meaning with human that isn't through the screen.
Right. And for the people who feel uncomfortable with social interactions, social anxiety, neurodivergence, there are a lot of people who do feel uncomfortable in certain social constructs and settings. Do activities, do things that involve other people that are engaging, that there's either a physical component to, or there is a game like you're talking about that, you feel like you can focus your energy and attention on that activity that you're doing with someone else, because it takes a little bit of the pressure off of the direct social interaction and what to say next and those types of things. Again, I know we've talked about this in a previous episode of like, it feels uncomfortable, especially when it feels like you haven't had tons of engagement or you haven't had a ton of practice when it comes to social interactions. And if that feels uncomfortable, you're not the only person, right? You are probably one of the many of the majority at this point, especially like I said, post COVID. So that's normal that social interactions can sometimes feel uncomfortable or it can feel, anxiety provoking. That's okay. It's okay to feel that way. And that doesn't mean that you shouldn't do it. It's again, it's a
Right.
muscle that you practice and you get more reps in and you feel a little bit easier each time you do it. But there are other ways that you can, again, engage with other people and still feel like you can be yourself and enjoy an activity and enjoy playing a game or engaging in a sport or playing a board game with other people.
I'd even go as far to say is like you're going to feel that way.
Right.
I could the thing that sort of gatekeeps for a lot of people mentally is like I don't know anyone.
Mm-hmm.
I want to go play ultimate frisbee, but I don't know anyone. I want to roll up to this, improv group, but like I've no one. No one will go with me.
Mm-hmm.
And I understand as a human being there is something innately anxiety and stressful about that, and yet in adulthood we have to do it.
Mm-hmm.
I think if we wait to know someone, to get your friend to call off work who can come to the pickup pickleball game with you, you're going to be waiting a long time and you might not ever go.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a different muscle when you're like, I'm going to roll up. Let me check out these courts.
Yeah.
Let me see. Let me put my paddle in to get in this pickup game.
Mm-hmm.
But I just, it's different when you tell yourself, well, because I feel anxious about it, I shouldn't do it.
Right. And there's something truly empowering about doing things by yourself sometimes
Right.
and showing up to things that make you feel uncomfortable or anxious, especially socially. And I know we've talked about this too of like, there is truly something so empowering about showing up either to, again, like a bar or a social activity or a sport and just showing up and being there and being in that setting and in that environment. And I know I've done this even when I traveled by myself and, when I'm in places where I don't have someone to go to dinner with or to go to, do an activity with. And it does feel really empowering and it builds your confidence to be able to sit down at a dinner table by yourself and have a meal and read a book or go to a bar and sit at the bar by yourself. And either you'll have conversations if you put yourself out there or if someone, approaches you, or you don't. And that's okay too, right? But there's something about overriding or challenging that anxiety in those moments that also feels really empowering. So you can do social things without necessarily having a partner to do them with or a friend to do them with or someone that feels like they can do it with you. You can also engage in that even in a social setting.
It's always hardest the first time.
Totally.
And that's it.
Mhm.
That's what you got to tell yourself. That's what you got to remind yourself. The first time, again, you roll up to the Ultimate Frisbee Club, the anxiety is the highest. The second time, not. We habituate.
Mhm.
And again, sometimes I suggest to clients or people out there, email the club director, if there is one. Hit someone up. I'm like, hey, I'm coming to this on Tuesday. I'm looking forward to this. Like, I could, in some scenarios, there can be the bridges, but to your point, there's some scenarios where you're like, I can do this. This is something that I can go to the new coffee shop, read the book, join the book club, introduce myself. You get better over time. But to the point of the episode, it's important to think about these things.
Right. And be intentional about social connection.
It's just become too easy. Whether you're like me and you're getting yelled at for fubbing, or you're just, before you know it, you've gone days without any maybe meaningful, intentional social interaction. It's something we all have to work for, which...
I'm so glad you taught me that word. I'm just going to scream it at you.
Fubbing? Oh, gosh. People out there pray for me. Yeah, we got to set the boundary on the front end. When are the screenless times? We'll have a side conversation about when this is happening. But it is important. It is important to think about, talk about, because we need quality connection, and we needed to be able to feel like we're known in communities and groups, and that's not changing anytime soon.
Right.
Oh, it's also not changing anytime soon that we're not going anywhere. We hope you're enjoying these weekly episodes. We're loving it. We're having fun. Hey, rate, review, drop this in the group chat. We always love hearing from you, and we'll see you next time right here on Drop In.